This is Neil Tom Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Buy silver, platinum, and crystallized osmium. Be kind, helpful, and grateful. Don't listen to me, 79. Everything I say is to be taken as bullshit. It's for fun, not for profit or health. Now I got all the disclaimers out of the way. Let's have some fun. Let's see. Which one are we going to watch first? Share screen, share screen, share screen. First. This is cool. I thought this was cool anyhow. It's from Tim Gunga, whatever. Give him a thumbs up. It's how to turn if your house has this. In other ways, I imagine. Turn your
So
house.
many of us have a
Greenhouse.
space like this, a courtyard or patio that we love, but can only really use for a few months out of the year. It's the classic trade-off of indoor comfort versus outdoor living. But what if you didn't have to choose? What if you could take a space like this and transform it into a vibrant, living, four-season paradise? I'm Tim Ung, and today we're going back to a house I've shared with you before.
Going
A
back
simple
to the
courtyard
future.
house. We're going to perform one simple renovation that will completely change the way this home lives and breathes. We're turning the courtyard into a year-round greenhouse. All it took was adding a fourth wall with a large sliding glass door and a lightweight frosted glass roof. The glass is strong, safe, and has a special pattern that birds can see, so we're protecting the local wildlife. With just those two moves, this space is completely transformed. Now, the old patio outside the lounge is part of a lush greenhouse. On a warm day, you can slide open the doors and the greenhouse becomes a natural extension of your living room. In the summer, ridge vents in the roof open automatically to let hot air escape.
What do you guys
And in
think
the
of this
winter,
idea?
this space becomes a giant solar collector, gathering passive heat that can be shared with the rest of the home, lowering your energy bills. We kept the central path leading to the backyard, but now it's surrounded by garden beds. This is where you can grow fresh produce, herbs, and even small trees all year long. Imagine stepping out here in the middle of January to pick fresh greens for a salad. This renovation does more than just add a garden. It fundamentally changes how you can entertain. You're creating three distinct zones for family and friends: the controlled comfort of the indoors, the fully open nature of the backyard, and this incredible space in between. A perfect, protected paradise where you can feel connected to the outdoors no matter the weather.
Kind of cool, huh? No? Okay, we'll go to something else. We got a whole bunch of shorties. Like 79, a whole bunch of shorties. Robot bunnies. No, we'll get robot bunnies later. We're going to go to autonomous Navy ships.
Navy is not the world's largest maritime force. China's People's Liberation Army Navy now holds that honor. However, the U.S. is unwilling to give up its title as the world's most powerful and innovative maritime force, so it's getting defiant. The Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, better known as DARPA, just christened a new unmanned surface vessel, the USX-1 Defiant. The 180-foot-long, 42-foot-tall craft displaces about 529,000 pounds of water and has a speed of 20 knots. DARPA says it can dance with 30-foot waves and is designed to stay at sea for more than a year without a single human being on board. Defiant is the product of the No Manning Required Ship Program, or NOMARS. It builds on much of what the Navy learned while operating its Ghost fleet over the last few years, which refers to a number of unmanned testing platforms like the Ranger. Turns out, when you don't have to worry about people, you can strip boats and ships down to the bare essentials: hull, propulsion, navigation, and weapons.
Weapon.
The NOMARS program manager
Dun, dun,
said
dun.
Defiant is no wider than she must be to fit the largest piece of hardware. As the demonstrator for the NOMARS program, Defiant features a simplified hull design, so that it can be easily replicated and repaired at any Tier 3 shipyard, places that typically cater to yachts, tugs, and workboats. DARPA says that once the Defiant completes the extended at-sea demonstration, proving its reliability and endurance, it will be turned over to the U.S. Navy, at which time it will be the fleet's first fully autonomous unmanned surface vessel. But it will not be the last. Congress just approved about $2.1 billion in funding back in July to develop, build, and integrate more USVs, which should go a long way to realizing Admiral Samuel Paparo's vision of a drone hellscape to counter China in the Western Pacific. You can hear more about that by checking out our website, san.com, or downloading the Straight Arrow News app today.
That was interesting. They're actually going to be built. There's a company in Pascagoula, I think, Mississippi. They are building autonomous boats. They are going to be selling them to the U.S. Navy probably by the end of 2026, beginning of 2027 to expand that fleet that gentleman was just talking about. A lot of work down that area of the world, of America anyhow. Let's see. We'll go with everybody loves to hear about this. Can't be happening. America is a lot worse off than China.
Filled with beggars. A restaurant owner notices an elderly man collecting leftover food.
It's fine. Go ahead and eat. Do you want a meal?
A passerby films a family of 4 living on the streets.
Little one, are you hungry? Go home early and get some rest.
今天早上买菜，看见这里正在乞讨。
I went grocery shopping today and saw this scene. It looks like a father with his 2 daughters begging on the street. The father was kneeling. It seemed like he was facing real troubles. In an underpass, people are sleeping on makeshift bedding spread across the ground. China is now entering an unprecedented economic downturn. The reality for the ordinary people is far bleaker than official propaganda suggests. On August 13th, a factory in Shenzhen, Guangdong shut down.
老板跑路了。
The boss ran away. We are unfortunate enough to end up with
Ran
this
away.
unscrupulous owner. That same day in Xiamen, Fujian, another factory closed.
倒闭要倒闭了。
Closed down, another factory gone. This year is tough.
我已经3天3夜没有睡觉了。
I haven't slept for 3 days and nights. Look at the bags under my eyes. My hair turned completely white overnight. I've run 3 companies for 26 years, and 3 days ago, we decided to suspend operations. I'm heartbroken. I've exhausted all my family's assets.
My goodness, every shop on this street is closed. This used to be a busy commercial street, but now the entire street has shut down.
On August 12th in Shenzhen, workers gathered to protest after their contracts were abruptly terminated.
我现在想问你，公司以哪条法律依据终止我们的合同？
I want to ask, on what legal grounds did the company terminate our contracts?
What's up,
What did we do
Jeffrey?
wrong?
大家的诉求我们都会记录。
We'll record all your requests and report them to the company. We were directly told our contracts had ended. Which law allows this? Just answer me. Did the company let us off suddenly? The company is closing as usual. Starting September 1st, the Chinese government will enforce mandatory social security contributions for all employees, dramatically increasing costs for small businesses. Many previously avoided these payments by offering slightly higher wages instead. Now they have no choice. Employers must contribute an amount often close to 50% of an employee's salary. For labor-intensive small businesses, this is a heavy burden. Social media has been flooded with reports of factory closures.
I'm sorry, but is that not an economy killer? You just told me everyone who employs citizens in China, they have to pay 50% of the person's hourly wage into a social security system? Holy moly.
While some businesses are letting go of younger staff in favor of hiring retirees, who are exempt from these contributions.
一个月就3000块钱工资. My salary was only 3,000 yuan a month with no benefits. After the new policy, the boss couldn't manage. So today he shut the company down. So many closures in just past 2 days. People think the bosses have it easy. I'm telling you, 80% of them either have depression or are on the verge of a breakdown. It's too hard. 社保我不知道好不好. I don't know if Social Security is good or bad, but my company has gone under. Yesterday, I thought only I was laid off, but the boss even laid off himself.
可能是第一家为了躲避硬性社保而关闭的公司了。
This might be the first company to close just to avoid the new rule. A factory in Huizhou, Guangdong, decided to shut down on August 31st because from September 1st, they must pay Social Security. The boss said profit margins are already thin. Paying would mean losing money. So he closed down and will find another way to make a living. At the same time, China is trapped in a liquidity crisis. Even with repeated monetary and fiscal stimulus, spending remains weak.
Has anyone told you this about China's economy? They keep saying America sucks, but no one talks about what's happening, other than myself and a few others, about how sucky China's economy is.
Government has introduced service sector businesses, but public responses has been skeptical. Online comments read, "Do you think the problem is the interest rate? No, it's that the people don't dare to borrow and spend." Others add, "We're not short on low interest, we're short on principal." Experts say these policies conflict with each other. Subsidies are meant to boost spending, but mandatory Social Security payments drain cash from both employers and workers. In 2019, the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences predicted that pension funds might be depleted by 2035. According to Wang Guochen, an expert in Chinese economic policy, the Social Security system is facing a structural crisis. He explained that a large number of young people are either withdrawing from or refusing to enroll in the pension system. The government had previously forecast that the pension system would run out by 2035. But now, with the economy in even worse shape than expected, the situation is more dire. Reports suggest that local governments have been using pension funds to cover local debts, which means the Social Security Fund could collapse sooner than anticipated. This would have a huge impact on China's employment and consumer spending, creating an economic bombshell with far-reaching consequences. An expert on Chinese social issues, Xu Ke, remarked that since the government announced the mandatory Social Security payments, many business owners have already made the tough decision to shut down. They know there are no good policies to address the situation. Once the September 1st deadline for mandatory payments takes effect, business closures will become widespread, leading to massive unemployment. According to Xu, this will be like a nuclear economy, severely damaging the social stability that the Chinese Communist Party fears the most, potentially sparking a wave of popular resistance against the government's oppressive policies. By mid-2025, even before the new rule takes effect, closures have swept across industries. Some vloggers have taken videos of the current state of the catering business in many places.
倒闭了，半年亏损了120万. Closed down. I've lost 1.2 million yuan in 6 months. I pawned my car and sold my house. I ran this fish hot pot restaurant for 12 years, but I can't keep going. I invested 2.1 million yuan back in 2014. Now all I have left are these tables and chairs. I might be the most unlucky boss in Zhengzhou.
Another vlogger shared a video to reflect the current situation of the catering industry in Nanjing, Jiangsu in August.
现在这生意啊，太他妈难干了。
Business is too hard. Stores are closing one after another. If you don't dine here, I'll have to close too. The market is terrible. Even if new hot pot and barbecue restaurants open, they won't last long. On August 11th, a vlogger from Hefei, Anhui Province, posted a video saying,
倒闭了，兄弟们。
Close down, brothers. Congratulate me. I'm finally free. 10 years in the restaurant industry. And this year, I came with confidence and invested 130,000 yuan. Now I can't even sell the place. Office workers don't come down to eat anymore, and I can't compete with chain stores for delivery orders. I'm exhausted. Even during the pandemic, business wasn't this bad. If you know anyone thinking about starting a restaurant, tell them not to do it. Keep your money safe. That's the most important thing. A vlogger says that in 2025, over 90% of new restaurants closed within months. Many viral restaurants are artificially hyped to lure franchisees, who often lose all their savings.
这就是双流步行街。
This is Shuangliu Pedestrian Street. It used to be crowded with people and even thieves.
I haven't shown any of those videos because I don't want to get any strikes, Jeffro. But there are a lot of uprisings in China that are not being whole cities are turning against the government right now.
Thieves. But now there's just no one. About 12 or 13 years ago, when I worked here, it was packed. Now it's either closed down or shops are rented out. It's a different world now.
到处都是店面转让。
Everywhere you look, shops are being transferred or
You see, what they're not telling you is this is all happening because of the Social Security tax that they're putting in at 50%, but also they have a CDBC, a digital yuan, and none of these stores can operate using the digital yuan, and that's the main reason why they don't have customers. I did a report a couple of days ago about it.
rented out. It's the same on this whole street. Shops for rent or sale. I called a landlord recently and they were very polite. Rent is negotiable now. A vlogger from Dongguan, Guangdong comments,
这是彻彻底底的完了。
It's over. It's completely over. These machines are turning to scrap metal. Since August, factories in Dongguan and Shenzhen have been closing one after another. Every piece of equipment is lying here, losing value. If this keeps up, it will all just be junk.
我们这条商业街全破了。
Our entire commercial street has collapsed. Each shop has lost more than 500,000 yuan. The vlogger goes on to say that restaurant closures in China are setting new records as consumer spending continues to decline. With so many restaurants closing down,
Well, with all those restaurants and companies closing down, the secondhand market for all the equipment they have is going to be rich.
the market has almost no room left to survive. Hotels are now trying to sell takeout to ease their anxiety, but it's only a temporary fix. Footage shows Chongqing's Sanxia Square also in a state of decline. A vlogger explains that the underground mall in Shapingba is eerily quiet. Looking down the hall, there's no one in sight. This, they note, is the current reality for physical stores. Those who purchased these shops likely regret it now. The vlogger also mentions spotting a few stray cats inside. On August 13th, in Qionglai, Chengdu, the shops were empty.
那不是危言耸听。
This isn't an exaggeration. This used to be the busiest shopping district in the city. But now, all the shops on several floors are empty. No one's even opening their doors anymore. The truck sales market isn't doing any better.
朋友们好。
Hello everyone. People say the off-season is over. It's not like it used to be. Look around. There's no one here, just cars. If you see anyone here, they're probably just market people. No one's buying trucks. In Anyi, Jiangxi, a vlogger shares that this street used to be the busiest in Anyi, but now it's a ghost town. More and more shops are closing down. Mr. Guo, who runs a musical instrument business, expresses his frustration about his sales this August.
8月份的生意太惨淡了。
Business this August has been terrible. Just the other day, I said that this year's business has dropped by 60% compared to 2023, and that's a 50% drop from what it was before. August alone has been half of the peak season, only about 20% of what we normally expect. It's so scary. Live streaming, sales, retail, everything is dead. People just stopped buying. Every industry is struggling.
It won't be that bad here in America. 50% decline. That's heavy.
Are low and everyone's income has dropped. A logistics blogger points out that the international shipping market has been struggling throughout the year.
惨淡的8月份，我感觉今年的经济形势很难了。
August has been miserable. I feel like golden September and silver October, which are generally peak demand months for Chinese markets, won't happen this year. The market is barely alive.
Dude,
To
she
the
looks
US
like a
and
freaking
Canada
robot.
are being updated multiple times a day. The European market is also declining. Only the Middle East shows some signs of growth. Other routes are practically dead.
The gym industry is facing similar issues. On August 4th, Blue Castle Gym in Xi'an closed without warning, leading to complaints from 300 members, totaling about 200,000 yuan in claims. Another gym in Hangzhou owes 200,000 yuan in and more than 800,000 yuan to over 70 members, totaling over 1 million yuan. The owner fled, and many students have reported the case to the police. Will's Fitness, a well-known chain, had 165 locations at its peak, but now has only 2. Thousands of members are waiting for refunds. The gym membership model has become a
They will
Ponzi scheme,
not.
which is a
refund.
type of financial scam where early investors are paid returns from
The
the money
beggar.
of new investors, rather than from profit earned by the business. In the current economic downturn and with lower consumer spending, this model is no longer sustainable, and many gym owners are closing their doors. The high-end hotel industry, which once thrived on conference business, is also in steep decline. On August 8th, the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Statistics reported that revenue for the accommodation industry in the first half of 2025 dropped by 7.3%, and profits plummeted by 92.9%.
wow.
Across the country, hotel revenues have sharply declined. By 2025, the income from conference services at most hotels is far below 2019 levels. Large conferences, once common in suburban resorts, have become history. Even in cities like Wuxi and Changzhou, hotels are struggling to recover even basic fees for meeting rooms. On August 10th, Zijin Holiday Resort in Shaoyang, Hunan closed down.
I came to check and the hotel had closed. Many people came to pick up the leftover items.
China's small and medium-sized banks are also falling into bankruptcy. Recently, the Anfeng Rural Bank in Dalian entered bankruptcy proceedings. In early 2025, the number of small banks closed will have already exceeded the total for 2024. Experts say the disappearance of these banks reflects the deepening crisis faced by small businesses. Due to the growing number of business closures and a high unemployment rate, more and more middle-class people are turning to delivery work or driving ride-sharing cars to make ends meet. New data shows that by October 2024, the number of rideshare drivers in China increased by 158.8%, from 2.89 million at the end of 2020 to 7.48 million. However, daily orders have sharply decreased from 23.3 orders per day to just 10 orders. On August 7th, a vlogger shared his thoughts on the current economic situation.
我认为大家传统中所认为的铁饭碗已经不铁了。
First, the iron rice bowl that people used to rely on. Positions like civil servants, teachers, or staff in public institutions are no longer secure. A friend who's a teacher told me they haven't received their salary and the government isn't even paying their pension fund. There's no money left. Even civil servants can't get paid now. Many people thought these jobs were stable, but not anymore. With a declining population, the position of teachers isn't as stable as people think.
Interesting. They never tell you guys that stuff. They just tell you China's great. They're a growing economy. They're doing perfect. Everything's kumbaya.
Second, we should focus on the present. Don't think too much about what will happen in 3 or 4 years. Why? Because the future is highly uncertain. For example, we are paying into Social Security now, but who knows how much we'll get when we retire. Policies change constantly. Don't be too optimistic. In 15 years, it could change to 20 years or even 25 years, depending on the population.
Well, I don't need to remind you guys this, but the name of the show is Neil Han's Dynasty.
And aging situation. So live for today and manage according to your financial capacity.
Building a dynasty. That'll be an emperor of.
Saving money is crucial. When your income decreases or you lose your job, you realize that all those promises about Social Security and taking care of old age are empty. Having cash in hand is the safest bet. Experts like Ma Guangyuan have said we'll enter an era where savings interest rates are
now,
zero.
what they just said, they're further on down the line to collapse, economic collapse than we are. And they just said, basically, cash is king. So I'm showing you this because it's a precursor of what's being staved off from hitting America as hard as it's hitting China. But we will get hit for a short period of time. It'll be very, very short because we've already got things in place for a recovery. But this is an international wave that's coming of economic oopsie daisies.
And loan rates may even go negative. If you put money in the bank, they won't pay interest. They will charge a management fee. It might be better to hide your money in a safe at home.
The vlogger concludes saying that Young people today need to focus on building security for themselves and strengthening their resilience to economic risks. Another vlogger advises watching your wallet during the ongoing economic downturn and avoid reckless investments.
不知道大家今天有没有这个感觉啊？
I don't know if any of you feel this way, but making money has become difficult. While spending seems to happen so easily, just like water flowing out, it's gone in an instant. I'm in the office furniture industry, and this year, all of us in the business can really feel the chill. The entire industry feels lifeless. The entire sector feels lifeless. In better economic times, various industries were booming, and everyone needed office furniture. This year, however, many longtime customers and distributors have said that products are no longer selling. Recently, several customers have come to negotiate, asking for leftover stock and discounted goods. The vlogger goes on to explain that the country's economy is driven by three main factors: exports, consumption, and investment. They note that consumption is struggling, as evidenced by the empty malls they visited during holidays. With no customers in sight, the government continues issuing consumption vouchers and lowering down payments for home loans. But these measures have not been enough to stimulate spending. The car sales market is highly competitive, with numerous subsidies offered. But again, these measures aim to boost consumption, which is still failing. On exports, the vlogger points out that the trade war with the US has significantly impacted the economy. As for investment, China's economy is heavily state-driven, with most investments relying on government infrastructure projects. Apart from a few large-scale projects, like the multi-trillion-yuan Yarlung-Zangbo hydropower project, both investment and export sectors are stagnating, with consumption, investment, and exports.
Now, I did a show on China about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, where they were building like 4 or 5 dams in the Himalayas, blocking off water to India, and how they're building a whole bunch of airstrips and military bases along the Himalayan India-China border. So if this is happening to their economy, I imagine they're not finishing those dams, and that's why India hasn't responded, because they know economically they won't be able to complete the projects.
The question arises, can the economy recover? The vlogger advises people to focus on holding their jobs and securing their livelihoods. It is important to protect one's savings.
Protect one's savings and avoid making reckless investments. So that means you don't want to buy a unicorn fart dust coin, do you? Here, let's go to one that everyone loves. Robot bunnies. Robot bunnies is the place to be. PBS NewsHour. I don't care to give them a like or subscribe. They got nearly 5 million subscribers. Robot bunnies save Florida. They're going to want robot bunnies in your house to keep an eye on you.
Versus Predator. It sounds like the title of a movie, but the Burmese python infestation in Florida is far from a work of fiction. Wildlife biologists in the Sunshine State are deploying a new weapon in an effort to eradicate this threat to the Everglades: robotic rabbits.
Up to 95% of all fur-bearing animals in Everglades National Park and the surrounding natural areas have disappeared, all because of the python invasion.
Mike Kirkland is the lead invasive animal biologist for the South Florida Water Management District and has been working on this issue for the last 25 years.
It's become an emergency situation for our native wildlife.
The University of Florida, in partnership with several state and federal agencies, launched a project 5 years ago aimed at luring and then removing these pythons from the Everglades.
This started off with putting live rabbits in pens out in the field. We call it the Lures Project, and it effectively attracted or lured pythons to come out of their hiding places and come check out these rabbits.
But taking care of live animals like rabbits takes a significant amount of time and resources. So now these researchers have technology on their side with the help of a robot rabbit.
If you give credit to Dr. Babu, a trial, they've kind of put that on a small boom inside the pen, and it gives it more movement. And it's fairly simple design, but hopefully effective.
And the effect they hope for? Lure the python out of hiding.
That heat signature hopefully is going to make it look like an actual live animal. to the python, and then it's supposed to smell like a live animal. It's supposed to move around like a live animal. So hopefully, that combination is going to effectively fool the python long enough to come out from their hiding places.
And once the python is out in the open,
around these pens are cameras, and those cameras have AI systems connected.
See, I think totally different. I'd make a robotic rabbit that they eat that you can track, so that way you can go pick the son of a bitch up. The way they're doing it, they got 3 or 4 people got to run out there last minute. You know how much money that's going to cost?
Will alert someone like myself who tries to be available 24/7, and then I could
available 24/7 means he gets paid 24/7 overtime. As soon as he gets a call, boom, it's double time.
Contractors that we managed to go.
Those rabbits had trackers in them, and they put some scent on them with that heat. Let the freaking python eat it. They could track it, go pick them up, probably a couple hundred in one day, rather than just, oh, there's one 50 miles away. Let me drive there. Oh, that'll be an hour and a half. Let me run out there. Oh, now I got to track him. Oh, I missed him because it took too long for me to get here. Oh, but I got 3 hours of double time.
Remove the python.
Researchers just released 40 robotic rabbit detectives. Until then, the researchers are relying on the most effective tool, the human eye.
It takes the average professional python hunter about 10 hours of searching for every one python removed. Our program alone has removed close to 11,000 pythons. That's
boy, she'd make me look like a professional with the way she's going about it.
well over 100,000 survey hours.
Woo! Well, that was a fight, wasn't it?
The team is also calling on the public to do its part, doing things like not setting free exotic animals.
Burmese pythons are not native to South Florida. They're native to Southeast Asia. They're here as a result of exotic pet trade. And we believe they were introduced into the wilds of Florida through a mixture of intentional and accidental releases.
People can
see what he's not telling you is I think it was Hurricane Andrew. I remember this clearly. Hurricane Andrew blew through Miami and it hit the zoo and the apiary and every part of the zoo they have. They lost monkeys, they lost exotic birds, and they lost exotic reptiles, and they all went into the Everglades. So there's actually monkeys that are still, I believe, well, they might have got all the monkeys, maybe not. A lot of exotic birds that are not readily available in the rest of the world are down in the Everglades, and pythons. The only reason they're mentioning pythons and they're not telling you the truth about where most of them came from is because they're the ones that's doing the most destructive damage. That, and there is a Chinese vine that's costing about $1 billion an acre in the Everglades to eradicate. I haven't found a video on that one yet.
You can also flag python sightings via a hotline, an app,
What's up, Susan?
The way the public can get involved is our annual Python Challenge. It's a 10-day event that we host every year. It's only $25 to register, and then you come down to South Florida and humanely remove as many pythons as possible for the chance to win cash prizes.
And that concept of humanely removing the pythons is key, says Kirkland.
Even though they're causing ecological destruction, this is still a living animal and needs to be respected as such.
For PBS News, I'm Addie Briley.
I'd just kill them. There's too many of them anyhow. I bet if it was a poisonous snake, they wouldn't be so nice. All right, we're going to get into some physics because we haven't gone to the smart end of the spectrum. This is Sabine Hossenfeld. Let me give her a like. This is 7 hours old. Constructor theory explains the origin of time. Yeah, this is something people don't usually think about, huh? That's not the button I wanted to push.
Is probably best known for his contributions to quantum computing, and each year I think he'll finally get his Nobel Prize. What's not so well known is that he's got his own theory of everything called constructor theory. He and Chiara Maletto just published a paper in which they explain the origin of time. You can't blame them for a lack of ambition. Let's have a look.
I was
Time is
wondering
a
where
big
she's going.
headache for physicists. Despite thinking about it since probably the beginning of thinking, it's remained unclear what time really is, if anything. Many physicists believe now that time fundamentally doesn't exist at all, which makes a great excuse if you're late. Trust me, I'm a physicist. The new
She is so funny.
paper is an example of how a universe that fundamentally has no time can nevertheless give rise to a universe that has an emergent time, an apparent time that we use to keep track of change. You see, that's how modern physics works. First, we deny the existence of something, and then we explain where it came from. More seriously, the reason time is so difficult to make sense of is that it's deeply connected to the problem of quantum gravity. That's the missing unification of Einstein's theory of general relativity and quantum physics, because these two theories treat time completely differently. In general relativity, time is a coordinate, and there are many different ways to choose it. There isn't just one time. There are infinitely many, just like there are infinitely many ways to put a coordinate grid on New York. That sounds confusing enough, but it gets worse if you add quantum physics to the picture. Because if space and time have quantum properties, then we can have several different times at once. If you don't know what it means to have several different times at once, don't worry. No one knows. That's the problem. So normally what one does in quantum gravity is to say, forget about all this. It doesn't mean anything. We'll bootstrap time from matter. That is, one uses the relative changes in matter configurations to construct something resembling a simple clock, for example, an oscillator, and then extract time from that. Okay, so that was the brief summary of how most physicists think about it. Deutsch and Marletta, however, have a very different approach to the laws of nature. Indeed, I must give credit to them for how audaciously they disregard the entire physics canon. If you like radical ideas, you'll love this one. It's like general relativity without the relativity and quantum physics without the quantum. Their idea is that the entire universe is ultimately explained by nothing more than transformations on physical systems. That is, ultimately what defines the universe is which changes are possible. They call those changes tasks, and the tasks are facilitated by, here it comes, constructors. Hence the name constructor theory. The constructors ultimately determine what can happen in our universe. A simple example for a constructor could be a chemical catalyst that facilitates a reaction. Constructors basically make things happen, and for this they need to have a certain level of complexity. They can't be single particles. Constructor theory is therefore emphatically not a reductionist approach. Rather, the idea is that all the fundamental properties of nature are contained in the types of constructors that our universe can bring about. If that sounds weirdly backwards, that's the point. It's a completely different way to think about physics. In their new paper now, they formulate a way one can use constructors to, well, construct time. Your first idea might be to say, we'll use constructors that perform recurring tasks, because this is similar to an oscillation of sorts, and that's what one normally does to construct clocks. But this doesn't work, because one can't know.
Back to Jethro's quantum oscillating flux capacitor.
Whether the recurrent task actually happens in the same time periods. It could just be getting slower and slower, like Windows updates. What they do instead is that they identify a shortest task, and that is doing nothing. It's when a constructor turns on and just turns off. They call this the null task. They take all these possible null tasks and group them together, and then they measure the changes in any system relative to these null tasks. This means one has now introduced a measure of change, which is time in some sense. Guys, I've spent 2 days trying to figure out how to explain this to you, but this is the best I could manage. It's really highly abstract. But I think that physics needs ideas like this that break out of the dominant framework of differential equations with initial conditions and so on. So I welcome the audacity. That said, honestly, the argument seems somewhat circular to me, because how can a task run if you don't have time already? But maybe my brain is just too small to comprehend this. On my bullshit meter, it's either a 0 or a 10, but I don't know which. I'm hoping constructor theory will eventually build me a better bullshit meter. And now, excuse me, I must attend to some null tasks. Yes, I do read a lot of news and know that chatbots still aren't any good at writing my scripts. But what does help me a lot is Ground News. Ground News is a news platform that collects and summarizes news which has been published all over the world. Not only...
All right, well, she's talking poo-poo now, trying to sell her goods, which is cool. Good on her. That irrelevant to my show. So that's all the... shit I had to show. Actually, there was this one video, it was on a short, but I can't find it, where this big time CEO explained exactly how the CCP gets all of their stuff. And that's why he actually walked out of a business meeting that was going to be filmed live because they changed the contract, and he explained it, but I can't find the video, but it's a perfect explanation of how China steals shit. I wish I could find it. But that's the only video I have to show, so unless someone wants to come up and chat, I got nothing. But I'm glad you like that physics lady. She does a pretty good job of putting it into humorously laymanistic terms, because physics can actually be highly complicated. And as far as the explanation of time, my personal, not being a physicist, but understanding how to read, I think Chris Legand's theory of everything and explanation of consciousness explains time, because time is irrelevant if you can't perceive it. So you have to be conscious to perceive time. So if you're not conscious, time is irrelevant. In other words, after you die in this plane of existence, time to you will be irrelevant. On the plane of existence you go to, time will perceive as a different construct than it does on this plane of existence. And that is the eternal life or death, depending on how good a person you are. Dude, I've already cleaned and packed my bowl and hit it quite a few times, Haggard. Yeah, probably 3-4 times already. But I'll take another hit just because you convinced me to. There we go. All right, on that hit, I think I'll end the stream since we have nothing else to talk about. I couldn't find too many interesting stories to bring to you guys today. There was only a couple of them, 6 or 7, and they were quickies. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. You guys have a great weekend. Be the best you can be. Peace out.